We are learning that members of Congress will be able to view unredacted copies of the Epstein files starting Monday. That, according to two sources familiar with the plans. And it comes after calls from some lawmakers and survivors for more transparency and accountability in the investigations related to Epstein. At the same time, tensions are hitting a new high between President Clinton and Republican lawmakers over whether he will testify on Epstein in public. The former president writing on X late today in part, quote, "I will not sit idly as they use me as a prop in a closed-door kangaroo court by a Republican Party running scared. If they want answers, let's stop the games and do this the right way in a public hearing." NBC's Ryan Nobles covers Capitol Hill. How did we get to this moment where the DOJ is now saying that lawmakers can, in fact, go in and look at these unredacted versions?
Well, part of it is members of Congress demanding as much information as possible. And there's been this push and pull with the survivors, with members of Congress, with the Department of Justice over what gets redacted and what doesn't get redacted. And part of what Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, said when he announced that they were releasing all the files they had left to release is that they would give members of Congress the opportunity to see the files unredacted. They didn't explain when that timeline would be. Members of Congress pushed the DOJ for that. They want to see this material before Pam Bondi comes to testify in front of the House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday. And so they're being afforded that opportunity beginning on Monday. But it's going to be hard for them. They're going to have all 3 million files. They'll be unredacted on a computer screen in the Department of Justice. They can't bring their staff with them. It'll be only the members of Congress. And since we last spoke, Tom, I've just learned that Congressman Ro Khanna, who is, of course, one of the two members of Congress who pushed for the Epstein Transparency Act, he will be there on Monday to review those files at the Department of Justice.
Well, how many hours, how much time do they get to review 10 or 3 million pages?
Well, the Department of Justice doesn't specify that in the letter that they sent to Congress, but it appears that they can have as much time as they want. They say they have to be there during the hours that the Department of Justice is open, that they have to give 24 hours notice. So theoretically, I think a member of Congress could push it as much as they want and spend as much time as they need with this material to get the answers they're looking for.
Meanwhile, Ghislaine Maxwell, who, of course, was Epstein's right-hand person in this sex abuse scandal, she's going to be appearing in court on Monday, right?
Well, she's going to be appearing in front of the House Oversight Committee.
Oh, pardon me. Thank you.
In a closed-door deposition. She's going to appear virtually from the prison camp that she is staying in Texas. But the members of Congress that I talked to, members of the Oversight Committee, are not expecting much out of this. Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney has already signaled that she's going to plead the Fifth. She's looking for a whole host of favors to be given to her from the Department of Justice, including early release. And it's basically said she's done talking until she gets this. Remember, she sat with Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, for 2 days, answering a lot of his questions during that period of time. And then it was shortly after that that she was moved to this more cushy prison camp that she's staying in now. So there are other people that want to ask her questions beyond the questions that Blanche asked, but it doesn't appear she's going to be very forthcoming at this point.
Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill. You're not on Capitol Hill.
I'm right next to you.
You're right next to me, right. Capitol Hill's over there,
Yes.
right? Okay, Ryan, thank you very much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.